Hello everyone, welcome back to Today News K-Wave channel. This isn't a lighthearted feeling that comes and goes. It's not a funny moment to laugh at and then forget. And it's definitely not a delight that warms the heart without any burden. On the contrary, what's been seen lately feels heavy, deep, and leaves an emotional imprint that's hard to erase. Something has changed, and the change is too real to ignore. Jikook is back in what fans call a black phase. A phase where interactions no longer feel bright and cheerful, but calm, intense, and full of unspoken meaning. There's no excessive laughter or excited reactions. Instead, there's silence, brief glances, distance that's constantly being closed, and a presence that feels too consistent. It's not about what's being said, but about what can't be hidden. Jungkook looks different. There's a subtle change that might be missed by the casual eye, but is very obvious to those who pay close attention. The way he stood, the way he moved, the way he reacted, everything seemed to have a single shared center of gravity. Whenever Jimin was near him, Jungkook seemed more stable, more focused, and calmer. It was as if the bustling world had suddenly shrunk to a single, familiar point. What made everything feel even more black was the fact that Jungkook didn't seem to be trying to maintain distance. There was no conscious effort to create space, no gestures indicating a desire to separate. On the contrary, even the slightest distance seemed uncomfortable for him. When steps separated, he would slow down. When positions changed, he would adjust. It was as if there was a natural urge to align again, to get closer, to be back in the same orbit. This wasn't something that could be perfectly staged. This kind of body language came from habit, from a sense of security, from a long-established bond. And therein lay the fans' unease, because what they saw wasn't a fleeting reaction, but a pattern that kept repeating itself. Too often, too consistently, too naturally, Jimin, in his own way, remained that center of calm. He didn't need to do anything extravagant. His mere presence was enough. There were no dramatic movements, no flashy reactions. Instead, her calm, steady, and controlled demeanor made this dynamic feel even more weighty. It was as if she was aware of her influence, yet chose to remain where she was, allowing Jungkook to come to her senses on his own. Fans began to feel a shift in emotions. What initially felt pleasant slowly morphed into something deeper. There was emotion, there was anxiety, and a strange, inexplicable feeling. Because witnessing such closeness wasn't just about joy, but also about the realization that such a bond carries a great emotional burden. And that burden was palpable even from behind the scenes. The much-talked-about ring symbol wasn't about its literal meaning. It represented something more abstract, more emotional, and deeper. A symbol of undeclared commitment, of an unnamed attachment that persisted in the form of attitudes and choices. The choice to draw closer, the choice to stay by the same side, the choice not to pull away even when the opportunity arose. This is not a delight, because delight should make everything feel light. What was seen here, however, left a heavy feeling in the chest. There was a silence that spoke louder than words. There are gazes that linger a little longer. There are pauses that feel meaningful. And it all coalesces into an atmosphere that's hard to ignore. Jikook in Black isn't about certainty or confession. It's about the process, about the long journey of two people growing together under immense pressure. It's about the sense of security that only arises when they're close to a certain person. It's about an emotional dependence that isn't always conscious, but is clearly reflected in body language and spontaneous reactions. Jungkook seems like someone who's found his calming point, and that point is Jimin. Every time distance is created, a small unease arises. Every time closeness is reestablished, there's a relief that can't be hidden. This isn't a contrived drama. These are emotions that escape before they can be filtered by logic. And perhaps that's what makes it all feel so intense. There are no certainties, no statements, no clarifications. There are just moments that continue to accumulate, forming their own narrative. A narrative that doesn't need to be explained, because it's already felt. This is not a delight. This is a phase that makes fans pause longer, analyze more deeply, and feel more. This is a silent, heavy, and meaningful Jikook. And as long as Jungkook continues to refuse to truly distance himself from Jimin, that's how long Black Jikook will live in the minds of those who pay attention with open hearts. The silence that accompanies this phase is actually the loudest part. There are no announcements, no clarifications, no clear lines to hold on to. Yet each appearance together, each fragmented moment, feels like a puzzle piece that continues to add weight to the story. And the longer it goes on, the harder it becomes to pretend this is all just collective imagination. Jikook in Black Mode doesn't ask to be understood, but his presence demands attention. There's a sense of something being guarded, not aggressively hidden, but nurtured within a quiet boundary. Jungkook, usually able to control his expression and distance, seems more honest with his natural reactions this time. It's as if he's tired of pretending to be unaffected, tired of suppressing the reflexes that always lead him back in the same direction. Every time Jimin moves, there's a response. Sometimes it's just a shift in shoulder position, sometimes a brief glance quickly averted, but still caught by his keen eyes. These moments aren't big, they're not dramatic, but that's precisely why they feel real. Small things like this are hard to fake, hard to engineer, and nearly impossible to pull off consistently without a strong emotional reason. Fans began to sense that this phase wasn't meant to entertain. It was meant to make them think, to raise questions, and to make their hearts feel heavy for no apparent reason. Many tried to laugh it off, calling it exaggerated or hallucinating, but the feeling wouldn't go away, because something felt different, and that difference kept appearing at unplanned moments. Jimin remained with his characteristic composure. There was no drastic change in his demeanor, but that consistency served as an anchor. He didn't seem anxious, didn't seem rushed, as if he knew that whatever happened, the closeness would find its own way. There was a calm confidence there, the attitude of someone who didn't need to prove anything. This is not a delight, because not everything beautiful feels easy. There's a beauty that actually makes the chest feel full, as if emotions are building up without a way out. Witnessing two people so emotionally in sync can be a confusing experience. On the one hand, it's heartwarming. On the other, it makes you realize that such a bond carries no small complexity. The black symbol that fans have attached to this phase feels increasingly appropriate. This isn't about fleeting joy or excitement, but about depth, about a bond that has endured too much to be reduced to mere coincidence, about the comfort that only comes from being near one particular person, even amidst the crowd and the spotlight. Jungkook seems like someone who keeps returning to the same spot, no matter how far he moves. There's a magnetism that's invisible, but its influence is clear. Every time distance is created, it feels temporary. Every time togetherness is rekindled, it feels like the way things were meant to be. And this pattern repeats itself, as if his body itself has memorized the way home. Fans who realize this no longer cheer in the same way. There's a new silence in their observation. There are more pauses, more suppressed feelings, a greater awareness that what they're witnessing isn't just entertainment. These are fragments of emotional life leaking into the public space, and that leak can't be fully controlled. This is not a delight, because delight doesn't leave people speechless long after the screen is turned off. This phase, however, lingers, replaying in their heads, and leaving a feeling that's hard to describe. There's worry, there's empathy, there's a desire to protect, and there's a desire not to speculate too much, but there's still no turning back. No one knows where this will all end. No one knows the true meaning behind every glance and every distance erased. But perhaps there really isn't a need for answers. Perhaps this phase is meant to be felt, not concluded, to be acknowledged without labels or certainties. Jikook in Black Mode is about interconnected existence, about two people moving in the same rhythm despite the ever-changing world around them. And as long as Jungkook still seems to refuse to truly distance himself from Jimin, that's how long this phase will live, silent yet powerful, in the hearts of those who choose to look deeper. maybe we'll never truly know what all these moments mean. We can only see, feel, and pause for a moment, because not everything is meant to be explained with words. Some things are enough to be felt, then slowly stored in the heart. If you feel the same way, you're not alone. Share your thoughts in the comments section, but please be respectful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next story. See you in the next video. Stay warm, stay wise, and stay with Jikook. In silence. Black heart ring loudly crying face.